Hello there. I wanted to redo a recording I did earlier and talk about probability a little bit more. In probability problems, you're probably given something along the lines of given the probability of A is something and the probability of B happening is something else, and maybe the probability of A given B is something. You got to solve for something else. So you're given some pieces of information, and then you got to figure out some other part to it. And there was a question like this posed on a subreddit, and a user by the name of Alkalannar used some notation that I thought was very useful, and used a strategy that I thought was just very slick and a nice way to approach these types of problems. So first, let's talk about his notation that he used. So you may be used to saying the probability that A doesn't happen either is something along the lines of that, or you might see it as that, or you may see that. All three of those take up more than one character. So what Alkalannar did is they just used a lowercase letter instead. So this would be the probability that A doesn't happen. All right, same thing for B. Probability that B doesn't happen would be a lowercase b. That way it's really easy to quickly go through and say not A, not B, typing. You don't have to look for the tilde, which I never use on the keyboard. I don't even know if this is on the keyboard anywhere. But anyway, so moving on. The way that I want to explain his technique is using a Venn diagram. So here we have a Venn diagram of two events that could happen. Now the events could be things actually happening, or it could be like traits, like somebody having a specific trait would be an event. So this right here, the big circle right here that's red, is going to be event A. And this blue circle is going to be event B. So let me undo that, because I want to talk about those two things not in terms of the actual event happening, but how we're going to label those. Because if you notice, there are 4 unique colors on my screen. There's a white section that's the outside of these things, so that section is where A and B are not happening. Then there's this red section, which is where A is happening but B is not happening. There's the blue section, which is where B happens but A doesn't happen. And then there's this middle section, which is where A and B both occur. Alright, so by looking at this, you can see how if I add A happens and B doesn't happen to A and B both happening, it gives me the probability that event A will happen overall. And by using this knowledge and using the information they give you, you should be able to set up a system of equations that will then let you solve for each individual part. And I just thought that was pretty cool. Well, I hope this helps. Have a good one.